Hello and welcome to the first ever edition of Enterprising Ireland. We hear a lot about the great success story Ireland has in attracting heavy hitters such as Microsoft, Google and Facebook. But there's a lot of places around the country where innovation, research and job creation go hand in hand. Today we're in Waterford.
In where we are here now in our lab has been fantastic for us. There's 20 odd companies in here and they're all the same, essentially, all startups, all suffering from the same problems.
The informal organisation in relation to the coffees and the meetings and the networking is important on so many levels, not just on the ideas level, as in discovering, talking to somebody else about something they're doing and combining two things to build something that's better.
We have brought in 105 million in the last 8 years in research funding. This is funding brought to the region, so we have created nearly 600 jobs out of our research in this area.
Has it been tough?
Very exciting, I would say. Lots of energy, everybody rolling their sleeves up, mucking in, very good team spirit.
When things are going well, you're kind of coping, whereas things go badly, you actually learn. You see what the factors were and how you might change them again.
Yes, you've now entered what's known as an incubation centre, a building of bricks and mortar, which is a hive of electricity, apps, keyboards and creativity. If Da Vinci were alive today and mad about computers, he'd love this place. Crazy names such as Feed Henry, Betapond, GBR Direct and Zolk C. They're doing things which are not at all crazy, and a lot of it's centred around learning stuff from others while having coffee. There's also nothing crazy about Connor from Betapond, raising €1.15 million recently from venture capitalists and Enterprise Ireland. Betapond develop what are called social media solutions, and they're Ireland's only Facebook preferred consultants. Connor has some very simple advice.
This is the third company that I would have raised money in. Not individually, it's a team that raised it, but it is the hardest thing to do. But fundamentally it all comes down to telling stories. And if your story is good enough and you've got some logic that backs up the story, you'll get the money. And to be perfectly honest, I suppose the most compelling part in the story we told this time was we've done it before. We've raised money before, we've built solutions before, we've put them in market before, and we've failed before. And that was a key part of it, is in the last venture I was involved in, we didn't have a hugely successful outcome. And any of the investors that we spoke to, it was that part of the story. They said they would want to talk more about what went wrong in the last company than what's going to go right in this company.
How important is failure to success?
Critical, absolutely critical. If you succeed at doing something very easily, you don't really learn anything on the way. So we had some hard failures and hard lessons that we learned that are absolutely not going to happen again. So if somebody's giving you your money, they want to give it to somebody with a few scars as somebody who's just come out of the crib.
Yes, Betapond is going places. Another one to watch is Feed Henry, which in the jargon of computer speak offers cloud-based mobile application platform solutions. Basically, they help other companies develop and manage secure apps for mobiles.
Feed Henry is all about building mobile apps. Mobile apps are made up of both the part that goes on the phone that runs on the device, but also some hosted middleware that allows the thing to work. And what Feed Henry does is allow you to build cross-platform mobile apps that run across Android, iPhone, BlackBerry, Windows Phone 7 and some other devices.
How many people have you got working for you? How have you grown?
We span out formally in January 2011 with about 10 people on the payroll, most of whom had been working in the TSSG previously on this project. And since then we've grown to of the order of 30 people, with 22 or so on the formal payroll and the rest of them being subcontractors.
Silly question maybe, how are you making money?
We're not quite profitable yet. We're still at investment stage. But our main way of making money is through two mechanisms. One is to sell a hosting package to large enterprises that allow them to take advantages of building all these apps. And the second is to buid a privately bundled solution that they can deploy themselves inside their own firewall and get all those same advantages.
Feed Henry is a spin-out from research here at the Waterford Institute of Technology, as is the weird-sounding Zolk C. These combine the hardware of handheld guides for tourists with the software information tourists read and hear when they're on their tour. They've just got the contract with Waterford City Council to provide a handheld multimedia interpretation of the historic Viking Triangle Quarter.
We think about the best experience you've ever had, right? And that's when you go and you're on your holidays and you visit an old house and you get lucky enough to meet a member of the family who used to live there. And they tell you a story and they bring the place to life, and you leave there feeling like you've got a special connection. This is an amazing place.
Exhilarated,
right? Yeah. And what we looked at the new technologies, and we can use new technologies to do the same thing. It's arranged around context services or location-based services, and it's really to bring the visit alive for the visitors. So they go to a place that they realise it's special, there's a story there, you're engaged. And the Viking Triangle is a perfect example of that. So the idea with the Viking Triangle is to make the whole area come alive.
So you're going to have somebody taking part in the Viking Triangle experience will have a handheld device.
That's exactly it.
Going around.
And the handheld device will show them how to navigate the triangle itself. It'll tell them all about what's special, because literally there's 1,000 years of history within 1,000 paces in the triangle, which is incredible. It's worldwide, it's almost unique in terms of the way it tells a story.
In another part of this amazing hub of creativity is Robert Leslie and his crew. They're busy building electronic networks that allow companies to access and retrieve information from national registers across Europe. Robert's work in Japan has taught him many important lessons in how to build a company.
The Japanese would be very, I suppose, consensus-driven rather than individual. They spend a lot of time on building the consensus, getting people moving in the right direction together, and then moving once they've got that consensus. It can be slow and frustrating at times, building that consensus, but once you have the consensus and you move, it's generally very positive and you get a good result at the end of it.
And all this has been overseen by Willie. This is the man who's been to the forefront of the European telecommunications management research and development industry since 1991. What's going on here, under the radar, is phenomenal.
We've created an environment where industry and academic researchers coexist in the same environment. So for instance, if you look at the building behind us here, what you have is you have a number of high potential startup companies that have grown out of the research which we do in WIT and in this centre here. But the interesting thing is that we have in the same building researchers and entrepreneurs side by side, and what that does is it creates an environment where they share the common space. So for instance, if you go into the canteen, you'll find a group of researchers. Here you'll find entrepreneurs there. It gives them opportunities to meet, to talk, to share ideas, and that leads to cooperation, and it leads to the transfer of ideas from our research directly into companies.
And there's a sign you don't normally see. 4 very inspiring examples there. Join us next week for more enterprising and innovative stories.